Well, hello. This is Dr. Sally Good with Good Body, Good Brain podcast. And I have a very special guest. I am going to say her name, and I dare you to say her name 10 times in a row Carmen Croonquist. Hey, got it.
Yes.
This is going to be so much fun because, first of all, she's a fun person. She's very, very smart, and she really understands what goes on between here that helps us change our behavior and change the way we see things internally. So, good afternoon, good morning, whoever time zone we're in. Here you go, Miss Carmen. How are you?
I'm great and honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I am been trying to get a hold of you for a while. We've been trying to do this, and we're both seems to be like we have we have other things that we're doing, but we can't seem to exactly get it hooked up together. But we did it. We did it today.
We made it work.
We made
Yay.
it work. And as the audience won't know this, but before I came on, we had a little recording glitch. I didn't have enough space, so we had to delete some things out. And so this music is going to be around for a little bit until I figure out how to get rid of it. But in the meantime, Miss Carmen, tell me a little bit about what you're doing like right now, like what your focus is, and then I've got some questions to ask you.
Awesome. Well, my focus between, my business is Intentionality LLC. And primarily what I do is I'm a public speaker and I'm a coach. And I've been in my field for over 33 years. So not new to the field of coaching and mentoring. And I've been in private practice now for 21 years. So I really love helping people scale their businesses up and create a life and legacy that they love. And to do so with great intention, passion, and fun.
Well, this is one of the things that we connected with is the fact that, we used to say work smarter, not harder, but there's another element to that. It's almost like even thinking about working sort of like makes another aspect of it. And so I would like creating things for people to be in a flow. So we don't even have to like think that much about it. That just by I guess we can use that word vibration. Some people go like wonky, wonky,
Mhm,
wonky,
mhm.
wonky. But everything basically in the entire planet has a vibration. Trees, people, my chair, we can do all those things. And when we're like up and having fun, we feel different. When we're low and down, we feel different too. So getting that vibration to rise brings in all kind of wonderful things to us.
Yes, it does. Well, it aligns us with the highest and best in the universe in our ability to create deliberately instead of by
Mhm.
default, because that is something I think is a golden thread that I've been aware of for a long time, is that you're always creating. Complaining is creating. But if you want to create deliberately, you can be a lot more conscious of creating the things you want instead of the things you don't want.
Yes, I posted a little quote. It's a Abraham Hicks quote. It says, "Worrying is using your imagination to create things you don't want." I'm going to
So
say that
true.
again. Worrying is using your imagination to create things you don't want.
Exactly. I love that quote.
So, yes. And what I've noticed, gosh, there is a movement afoot. I don't know if you felt it yet. I don't know if our listeners have felt it yet, but I have. Years and years and years ago, we used to talk about women being equal pay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we were going to go up in the world and et cetera. And I thought all that was behind us. But now I've run into a group of women entrepreneurs and also corporate people who are feeling the same thing. They want to make sure that their legacy is my kids know that by their own work, their own creation, they can make any amount of money that they put their mind to.
No, it's incredible because we're here as deliberate creators to really expand and grow and experience life in a lot of different ways. But we're here to really learn how to create the kind of life and businesses that we want. And part of that spiritual mission is creating wealth because we have the ability to have more of an impact in the world on the things that matter to us when we have money to back it up. And if you have a big mission, which I know you do, I sure do,
Mhm.
take some money to fund a big mission in life, right?
Well, yes, and one of our favorite people who will remain nameless says this: there's nothing more pathetic than a broke philanthropist.
That's so true.
Because my mission, as you know, is to help women creators really create what they're capable of. Is do good so you can do good.
Exactly.
If you don't have the money to do what you want to do, then you can't achieve that. And I mentioned earlier about interviewing this wonderful person from Pakistan, a young lady, and her mission is to create shelters for the poor because, as you know, in Pakistan, there are many people who walk around homeless the entire lives. And she wants to create a shelter in every major city in Pakistan. And that's
Wow.
what she's starting to do. She says, in Pakistan, we believe in, well, she's Hindu. She said, we believe in dharma and karma. The more we give, the more we get. And sometimes we get back many more times than what we've given.
That's wonderful. Well, it sounds like with her mission, she's got a lot of wonderful karma and dharma going for her, especially being able to help people in Pakistan with finding shelter and starting a mission like that in a country where a lot of people are living without is incredible. So
Well,
I applaud her.
yeah. And we have a lot of near to dear to me is rescue animals. I have
Oh,
six. Um, I usually sort of like stop at six. It's kind of like half a dozen. But if I had more money and I could hire more people, then I'd have more than six.
that's true. I think
So,
that
well,
comes down to what's your why for being wealthy. you
yes,
know
exactly.
and it's not just impacting people like you mentioned, impacting animals and the world, the causes that matter to us.
And along with that, you know, people who have children, who are grown children, who also have grandkids, also want to help them, like maybe with college or some things like that. Or, grandma is just not for toys. Grandma can help with a lot of legacy type of things, especially
Hmm.
if her children want to do similar kinds of work.
Right. No, my mother-in-law set up college accounts for all of the kids. I have two stepchildren, and then they have two other grandchildren, but they paid for all of them to go to college, which is amazing because I was the one that had to pay for it on my own, and I graduated with student loans. And it took a while to get out from under those.
Mhm. Yes, but congratulations on that, because that made you freer.
Thank you.
It freed you up to do other things. Um, I don't know how I did it this year, but I was able to discharge two or three loans that had been around for a long time. That I thought, gosh, when I took them out, one was the solar paneling on my house, and another one was a consolidation loan. I thought, oh my gosh, well, I'll never get these paid off. And lo and behold, I did, which frees you up with so much monthly extra stuff that you can give more to other people.
Right. or enjoy more of things that you want to do in life. You know,
Exactly.
like,
Travel, go on a good vacation.
right. Because, you gotta travel while you're young and healthy and you're able to get places that you want to see in the world.
Well, I posed that sort of question to this guy named Shiraz Babu. I think you've heard of
Yeah,
him.
of course I have.
I said, Shiraz, I've got some disc in my lower back and it really bothers me when I walk on cement. So I've kind of like put off flying for a while. He said, don't do that. He said, just make enough money so you can hire somebody to help you. Hire somebody to take your bags. Hire somebody to stand in line for you. And then there you go. You just get on the plane and go. I was hoping for teleporters by now, but I don't think it's going to happen.
You never know. I see those little robots in restaurants now, bringing things around. So you never know.
So tell me a little bit about your process that you help people. You do a lot of coaching. You help a lot of people. And I think the beginning of any entrepreneurial journey has to start with this word mindset. Now,
Hmm.
people like either love that word or they hate it. They go like mindset. Oh crap, we don't talk about that stuff again. I talk about changing your mind because we get like these limiting beliefs hiding back here. And until we hit up against a wall and we don't know why we did, it's like, okay, there's a little landmine in there. I call mind mines that we just stepped on one. And we're going to
Right.
have to defuse it and figure out where it came from.
Yeah. Whether people want to hear about mindset or not, it's there.
Hmm.
Your attitude is everything. It's always that you can't always control whatever events happen to you, but you're in control of the response. And my attitude is if you don't have control over your mind, then what the hell do you have control over? We all
Yes.
have control over our mind, and we all have the ability to grow new neural pathways. Now, you asked me a little bit about my process, and what makes it unique is the fact that
Hmm.
I help people access beliefs that are on the subconscious level. Now, our subconscious level is programmed from the time we're born till about age 7. And it's
Hmm.
before we have discernment. So where it's like we're drinking out of the fire hose of all the information that we're getting from parents, from caregivers, from authority figures in our lives, from the media, from teachers, etc. And we don't know whether it's true or not for us. Just because it's true for somebody else doesn't mean it has to be true for me. So we often have very limited ideas of what we can accomplish in life, what we can earn, what we can do, what we can have, who we can be based on limited mindset. And the work that I do, I look at mindset on 4 different levels of the subconscious. So the first level is the core level, and that's birth to where you are in life now. So it's everything that you absorbed or learned that's stored in memory. And where we hold those beliefs and programs based on the reality that we're creating for ourselves is in our pineal gland, which is kind of the third eye area. The second level of belief that we have is the subconscious level or the genetic level. And that goes back 7 generations on both sides of the family. Science can now prove it back 3, all the data to
Hmm.
prove it back 3. And that's why we often have patterns that we inherit from grandparents and great grandparents or beliefs that we consciously think, why would I have that belief? But it was something that we absorbed from, an ancestor, a family member. And where we hold those beliefs are in the morphogenetic field around our physical DNA. Your third level of belief is the history level, and this relates to past lives. It also relates to oaths and vows, and you were just talking about karma. It relates to
Hmm.
karma, curses, things that we might have taken on in a previous life, but also things that we sometimes absorb from other people. Like we call it the history level because it's kind of that sense of What do we buy into in terms of group consciousness? What do we think is impossible or impossible based on group consciousness? And we hold those beliefs in our auric field, protecting us. And then the very last one is the soul level beliefs. And this is the you that's always been here, that is here right now, chose to be here right now, as a student and a teacher to everyone that you see. And your soul level is here to expand and grow. And we hold those beliefs in our heart because we have neural pathways in our heart as well as we do in our brain, as we do in our gut, by the way.
And your gut, yes.
People tap into, mind, body, spirit, tapping into your brain, tapping into your gut, and tapping into your heart. And you might get a different response. But what I do is a little different than coaching. I don't want to get into somebody's big story because people are addicted to their stories. We get a dopamine effect when we tell our story.
And they can step out of that story anytime they want to.
Exactly. So I want to get to the root belief and determine if there's something there that you want to release. And I'm co-creating that process with my clients or with a group. And I'm able to identify a belief that is getting in the way and do some energy testing around it to determine if it exists. But then the second thing is I always want to know from the people I'm working with, how has it served you? What was the lesson and the gift so that you don't recreate this experience all over again? So that you learn from it and you take that lesson and gift and you go forward. But you replace the disempowering belief or program with something that's empowering. Something that empowers you to create what you're wanting to create in your life. And that's the part that to me is transformational. And I really feel blessed to witness miracles.
Yes. Yes. I think too that what served us when we were 10 years old doesn't necessarily serve us when we're 25, 35, 45. So we're in our best self trying to protect ourselves, but we've outgrown it. We don't need that anymore, and we can be thankful to the entity or the part of ourselves that tried to protect ourselves and say thank you very much. But right now, I need to go over here and do something different.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we have to take control of our mindset in our lives, or else we're playing the victim, or else we're allowing ourselves to self-sabotage. It's having boundaries on how we want to be treated, but then making sure that we're adhering to those boundaries ourselves too, so that we're treating ourselves with kindness like we would a friend.
Yes. Yes. Don't say anything to yourself you wouldn't say to your friend.
Exactly.
I know you hear clients say things to themselves like, oh, God, that was so stupid. You're such an idiot, blah, blah, blah. I said, whoa, hold it. Your brain is listening to you. Your brain is believing you. Tell your brain how smart and wonderful you are. And your brain will go, yeah, you are.
Or even better, ask it as a question. Because I like the belief of affirmations, but also affirmations. Because if you ask your brain a question, it's like Google, it's going to go searching for the answer. So the way you would do that is like, why am I so smart and successful and wealthy? Why do I continue to attract clients who are a right fit for me, who are excited to pay my rates because of the transformation that I provide? Why do things always work out for me in the best possible way? It's just kind of trying, priming your brain, especially when you're in a theta state. In a theta state is like right when you're waking up in the morning and you're in that dreamlike state, or as you're falling asleep, but also during meditation. And since so much of your brain is programmed when you're in a theta state, it's helpful to go back into a theta state to reprogram it. So these are things that you would want to tell yourself before you go to bed. Why do I always get so lucky? Why do I always find opportunities everywhere I turn? Why is prosperity always there for me? Why does everyone and everything prosper me now, or whatever it is you want to ask yourself. But as
Yes,
you practice,
yeah, I tell people like this, we call this a hypnagogic state where we're in between wakefulness and sleepiness, and it's before your brain can have a chance to become critical.
exactly. Yep, exactly. You're right. And it's the part of our brain cycle that is the most creative, the part that is allows you to really be a deliberate creator. So it's really harnessing that theta state that you were in when
Mhm.
your subconscious was programmed, and using it to overwrite programs that were no longer serving you, but also getting into a theta state can make you aware of where they are. What are some of those
Yes,
right beliefs that you want to excavate and remove and replace with something more helpful?
yes. And you may hear my doggy,
I do.
one of my rescues. Um, they're telling me that the postman has just come,
Okay.
or it might be FedEx. For some reason, they don't like the FedEx truck, but I love the FedEx truck myself. But for some reason, they don't like the sound of the engine on the road. I don't like it.
Sure.
Yay! Let's get some more stuff from FedEx. So
There
when
you
I talk to women these days, first of all, maybe they've been in business 10, 15 years, maybe even 20 years, and they're making a pretty good living, but they're not living up to what possibly their potential could be. And that's when I'm curious when I'm talking to them, like, what's going on back there? Sometimes I find it's acculturation where we're told as kids, like, oh, don't be too overpowering because men won't like you, or don't be this or don't be that. So like stay in the background. In the meantime, guys are going, hey, look at me, look how good I am. Yay, I can hit that ball, I can do this. And so we are sort of like, we should just like be in the background a little bit. And I tell women, no, it is time to roar. You are just as potent and capable as anybody to in terms of business. I was lucky enough to have two entrepreneurial parents. They never worked for anyone else the entire time I was growing up, and then, of course, when they retired. And so I worked with them in their businesses. I didn't even notice at the time that, like, oh, entrepreneurship is the way that you can step out of like having a salary and having someone determine what you're going to make. You get to decide what you're going to make. You could decide by your
exactly.
own what goes on up here and how you're going to serve other people. Because if you've got the solution to someone who's having difficulty or a pain problem, and I don't mean that in terms of like physical pain, although it could be, because sometimes this and our bodies get hooked together in really strange ways.
Well, they are.
Chronic, yeah,
I
makes
mean,
them all.
everything that starts,
Mhm.
everything that becomes an illness or a physical issue starts in your mind
Mhm.
first, because your body's
Yes,
trying to get its attention.
yes, yes. And so when I tell people like, oh, okay, yes, you can do that if you really want to, but you have to kind of like peel the onion, so to speak. Like that's the way I like to do it. Let's peel off this layer and see what happened that gave you this belief, and what is it about this belief that you think is so protective right now? What is it that you want from the belief, and what is it that you're willing to let go of the belief to order to get to another sort of stage of wherever you're going? It's sort of like climbing Mount Everest. You have like little base stations, and
Hmm.
they're sort of there's ropes along the path.
Hmm.
And so I tell people, I'm going to Sherpa you up to this next level. All you have to do is just stay between the lines and don't step over here or step over there. And then you'll reach it to this level. And then you'll go, that wasn't so hard. And I'll go, yes, that's right. It wasn't. So are you ready to go to the next one? And they'll go, okay, let's go.
No, and I think that's what a good coach or mentor is you're helping people navigate that gap between where they are right now and where they want to be, and you help them get there more quickly.
Yes.
You
And
know?
feedback is just such an excellent teacher when you're in a community, and that's what I love about what we both do. We're in a
Hmm.
community of people who are like-minded because we're more interested in the impact our money can make as opposed to
Right.
actually just having a pile of dollars.
Hmm.
And when you're surrounded by a bunch of, I call them dolphins, as
Hmm.
opposed to sharks, because we don't want any sharks swimming around this water. We want all the dolphins to just like raise each other up. And that's how we like to do business. Let's find some
Exactly.
dolphins to play with.
I couldn't agree with you more. Nobody
You're
wants to
playing,
nobody wants to be working with the sharks.
no, because sometimes you don't know they are until you get in a little bit too deep. Because we've had some friends who thought they were playing with dolphins and they got hoodooed into thinking something else and they lost a lot of money.
Well,
So
it
it can
happened to
happen.
me.
Oh, it can
It
happen to
happened to me.
anybody.
I 2 years ago paid a lot of money for a mentor who didn't deliver on anything.
Uh-huh.
And that was $25,000. And
Yes, and
the thing I came away with were some life lessons. And I learned how not to run retreats or how to run a high ticket program.
mhm,
And I met some great people in the program. So there were some positives that came out of it for sure.
mhm. Almost everyone I've talked to who has become a coach of any note, who's really on the path of helping others create wealth, has run into something that happened in the back. Like for me, I started out with a coach who thought Facebook ads were the way to go. And
Yeah,
I was a newbie. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Yes, I did a webinar. Yes, I figured out something about Facebook ads, but that was not where I needed to be. I
right.
needed to be with JV people. I needed to be with other people who were like-minded so we could lift each other up. And that was about a $30,000 lesson too. And again, I learned what not to do, but I think as particularly newer people, they're so eager. And then when somebody says, "Oh, I can show you how to do this. All you have to do is just follow this and this and this." But in the back of your mind, you get like, this is not quite me. You feel the lack of alignment, but usually you've already like got your toe in and already like paid a lot of money up front. So you don't want to let go of it too early because you think
Right.
like, oh, if I just stick with this, it's going to work out. But sometimes it just doesn't.
I agree. And it's really
Mhm.
having that discernment of, first, trust your instincts. And, for anybody that you're going to pay the big money to, definitely make sure you're aligned, that your mission, that you're really aligned with that person. Um, because we all want to make sure we're not signing on with sharks, or conversely, I don't want them as clients either. I don't want sharks as clients. I don't
Yeah,
need to have sharks as joint venture partners either.
right.
Um, I want people to be of a certain generosity
Yes.
and to be heart centered, to really
Mhm.
have the not just the good intentions, but to back it up with actions.
Mhm. Yes, and I love that word generosity because when people say to you, "Oh, I can do this and I can do that," and you wait a couple of days and nothing happens, then you think, "Oh, did they forget about me?" I almost brought someone in who looked really good on the outside, um, and she also had a lot of healing coaching background. But then I asked her to help a client because I had a client that was in dire straits. When I mean dire straits, she was with the wrong person who was about to do her great harm.
Oh,
So I enlisted some help And she said, well, I really can't do this for free. I said, well, okay, if you can't do it for free, I'll subsidize you, but you cannot tell the client. So I did. And so we between the both of us, we got this gal out of a really, really very, very dangerous situation. And then the client disappeared, just like poof. And I know it was because of some pull on the other side by this other person, but neither one of them talked to me about it. Like, I would have been fine with it if they'd have said, well, you've done this piece, now it's time for me to do this piece, and we can just move on. That would have been good.
Right.
But I felt sort of like, hey, what happened? What happened here? And one of these days I'll probably find out. But to me, I like to come to people and say, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I want to do. And what do you think about it? And so it's more collaborative as opposed to like one person deciding to do this, that, or the other.
I agree.
Especially when I'm paying for the program.
Exactly.
So people's idea about money really shows in interpersonal reactions, right?
Well, how you do money is how you do everything.
Yes. Yes. Yay.
Yeah. So
As Susan Evans would say, how you do the little things is how you do everything.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of iterations of that quote out there, but I think they're right.
Mm-hmm.
How you show up is how you show up.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, we were talking earlier about how I hired this person to help me get some of my emails going and starting a funnel and some sales pages for my program, etc. And the only reason I really hired them is because over the last year, I've watched them. I've been involved in their sphere and with other people as well in their sphere. And I've seen how they really hold up their end of the bargain. And they give like
Wonderful.
120% all the time. And they're smart, and they're expanding, and they really want to help people. If I feel deep down inside they would be happy if they were like billionaires and they could give all this stuff away because they'd like that. But they're a business person, and I want to support them. I'm happy to pay their fee because they're
Right.
giving me what I need.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yay!
It's always
Yes,
good
yes.
help.
When you find people that are like that, oh boy, just hit your wagon to that star, and they're going to take you where you need to go.
Right. Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about, I know you've been helping some other icon makers. I know part of my program, the very first module is going to be mindset and strategy, because we have to build the foundation before we can get up the first base station. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing in Icon Maker.
Well, my whole thing is money mindset, and then helping people create their high ticket offers so they can really package their brilliance and scale with ease. And as you're aware of the Icon Maker model, it's all based on linking payments to results. So you're not paying any more until people have hit certain milestones. And just like you mentioned earlier, it's really about breaking things down into smaller chunks. But I start with mindset because it makes everything else flow more smoothly. Because if you're going to reach that next level, because I'm working with, coaches and thought leaders who want to get to a 7-figure income and do so only working around 20 hours per week. So that they have
and
more
working
time.
with people they really like.
Right. And so that they're operating in their genius zone. And in order to get to that next level, you had to get above the part of you that is fearful that you're not ready, or that you need another certification, or whatever it might be, because people hit blocks and barriers as they reach different levels in their business. And money mindset is one of them. People often have a certain set point of what they can't imagine earning less than, but we
Mm-hmm.
often have a set point as to what we can imagine earning more than too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really work with people to raise their wealth blueprint and to raise their success blueprint so that they know that they can do this without having to work so hard and to be drowning in overwhelm and to have too many to-dos that you can never get caught up. I'm about helping people create wealth with ease and flow. And
Yes, and
it's
let's get out of let's get out of the mundane.
right.
Um, because the mundane is essential for any business. We have to have emails. We have to have sequences. We have to have certain types of campaigns. Yes, we do have to have webinars, but let's get the people to help us, and let's use our particular. And I love that sort of saying of the zone of genius. Let's
Mhm.
just focus on that particular part of ourselves that we can fly. There's a great YouTube video for the guy who's the president of Google now. I'm going to say his name wrong. He's Indian. His first name is Mo Gawat. And he says, with the age of AI, we need three things. First of all, we need to learn AI because it's our friend and it's going to be around a long time. We also have to know when AI is delusional and is telling us lies because it's not always true. And the
Exactly.
third thing is we have to keep up the human connection, the authenticity of the relationship, because when we lose that, we lose the whole purpose behind why we're doing what we're doing and the impact we have on another human being. Because that's
I
the whole
couldn't agree
point.
more.
That's the whole point. Let's get people who have this vision in their head, and for some reason haven't seen the clear steps to get there, and we know how to get them to the second and third level. And I know you have, and I have curated the smartest, most brilliant women on the planet to pop in whenever we reach those kind of impasses in our journey up into the top. And the top can be a million, it can be 2 million. I used to think a million was a lot, but now I don't.
I
I'm
know.
not even sure. I'm not even sure 10 million is a lot. It depends on how you get there and how you do it with ease. Because what I want to do, I want to give money to people who are smart, want to do a certain thing. Like if somebody's a web designer, I want to give it to the best. If somebody wants to do branding, I want to give it to that best person. I want them to be on my team so that my clients can take advantage of the best.
I
So
agree.
that's why I have curated all these wonderful women. And I love being in this whole arena that we're in because get to meet all these people, over 100 of us together, bonding together in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes it's just globally, from Pakistan to, I interviewed this great gal from Cyprus who books people for podcasts, and she's
Wow.
also an artist. Yes. And so it's the interconnection across everywhere, and it's the consciousness of, I think, women being more empowered now than any other time they've ever been. And it's not
Well,
just about feminism. It's not about that. It's about some a little bit about equal pay for equal work because we're still 75 cents to a dollar in the workplace. And that just shouldn't be.
but there's still so many parts of the world where women are subjected to patriarchal rules and
Yes.
systems that oppress them, that damage their safety, that limit
Mhm.
their ability to control their lives, and
Mhm.
limit their ability to earn an income or an education even that they want to have.
Mhm.
So I believe in women's empowerment, not to
Mhm.
disempower men, but I think
Mhm.
men have had a lot of they've had a lot of years to be in charge. in
Mhm.
many places in the world.
Mhm.
One of these days, I hope we get a female president sooner than later because, hey, Pakistan, India, I've already had one. Mexico elected
Mexico,
female
yes.
president. So I really see opportunities for women to have more latitude because women tend to give more back to their communities than men. Let's
Mhm.
face it, there tends to be more of a concern about the greater good than just one little segment of the population when women win.
Mhm.
And when
Mhm.
women win, I think everyone wins. And I think some of those patriarchal, outdated systems in the world will come down when women have more economic power.
Yes, and that's the key right there. That's just hit the nail. When women have economic power, influence,
Right.
all different kinds of levels, from the person who's got a job on the assembly line to the person who's running the government. When they have that kind of influence, then we're going to see things change in just such a powerful way. And I didn't realize that we were part of a movement until about a couple of months ago when one of my clients who's 70-ish and she has an MBA and she says, I want to make more money than my husband. In fact, I want him to retire.
Well,
And
it,
I want to be the breadwinner for a while so he can do his hobbies, so he can relax. And so I can say, hey, I'm taking care of you.
well, and I think, if a marriage is an equal partnership, you go through these different
Hmm.
stages at times in your
Yes.
life, whether or not you have children or,
Hmm.
just of all of that. And I feel that way too. I want my husband to be
Hmm.
able to retire and have less
Hmm.
on his plate and be able to enjoy things more as well. He's a very hard worker. He owns two businesses, and I
Hmm.
have the same ambition as well, to help
Hmm.
him. But to help our ability to enjoy being contributors as we retire,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. So
Yes,
I believe in that firmly.
and the legacy of the whole thing that we're doing. Um, my original program was wealth and wellness because a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly women, give, and they get overwhelmed, and so they don't take good care of themselves. So self care and in higher levels of, I guess, entrepreneurship, women have to intentionally say, oh, I need to take better care of myself. The microbiome, our second brain, we need to make sure it's functioning optimally so we get more serotonin. All those things all work together. But now everyone kept saying, yes, I want to make money, but I want to make an impact in the world. And so now that program has turned into impact and legacy. So, yes, you can have a legacy for your children. You can have an 8-figure strategy exit if you want to and retire. It's totally up to you how you want to live it.
I love it.
Hmm.
And I'm all
And
about
it's,
living intentionally. So my
yes.
program is about just choosing to be intentionally wealthy.
Hmm.
Um, and part of it is making sure that you're aligned with your divine purpose. Because
Hmm.
I see a lot of people who have friction between their their spiritual mission, their divine purpose, and feeling like they're caught up on a grind, because of busyness.
Yes, the
So
busyness. And when you see someone who has a mission and who also has the wealth to back it up, it's a, oh my gosh, it's like looking at one of those rockets launching and going up into the stratosphere. There's nothing stopping them
so
because
exciting.
all this, and they're just going. I love to see it. Just love to see it.
Me too.
Now, you have so much wisdom up here, and you've been doing this for a while. If there was a couple of things you would tell anyone who's listening, especially could be women in their 30s, 40s who are have their own business, but they're just not getting traction. They're not moving up that mountain. What would you say to them to give them like a little head start?
Um, I would really want them to have clarity, because I think a lot of times people don't make progress because they're not focused. They're trying to do too many things all at one time. They're trying to have, they sometimes people get shiny object syndrome, where you're pulled off your mark because of
Mm-hmm.
other things that seem exciting, and you have the fear of missing out. But in order to gain traction, you have to get real clear on what you want to do and where you want to grow, and also clear on what's getting in the way of it. So that means finding strategic partnerships. It means maybe taking things off your to-do list. It means making time for self-care so that you do have the energy and clarity to maintain your well-being while you're growing. Finding the right support system. Finding the people that really can help you grow your business, because if you do it alone, that's where people do get burned out. And just like you said, there are people out there with expertise that we do not have. And so why burn yourself out on tasks that are not your strengths?
Mm-hmm.
For me, my whole thing is I just want to focus on being a keynote speaker and coaching and writing and creating.
Mm-hmm.
And any time that I'm spent on other things besides learning, to me feels like a waste of my energy and
Mm-hmm.
time. So those are the things that have the greatest impact. And so it's trying to find others who can balance the administrative tasks and other things that are important in keeping the business going forward. And I would just say, taking the time to celebrate your successes, and also stepping into the identity of who you want to be, stepping into your
Yes.
future yourself
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yes.
That
Yes.
person that you think, okay, in 2 years, I want to be, a multimillionaire, stepping into the identity of that person now. How does
Yes.
that person show up? How does that person dress? How does
Yes.
that person spend their time? How
Mm-hmm.
does that person think about money? How does that person feel when they spend money?
Mm-hmm.
And finding a way to always think from that future self, that will pull you faster than just merely setting goals of, I want to be a multimillionaire within X amount of time.
Yes. Yes.
Set the goal of of the identity, because keep in mind, again, I do a lot of belief work, but your beliefs support your self-concept and your
Mm-hmm.
identity, and your identity needs to be aligned with the kind of wealth and vibration
Mm-hmm.
and kind of person that you're stepping up to be. So
Yes.
just a couple
And
things that I
also,
can share.
and the people that are in your environment, as you know, because I'm a clinical psychologist, I still have some clients. Um, God bless them. I love talking to 30-year-olds because they have so much potential and they've been hiding their light under a bushel, and they could be lighthouses if they just lifted it up. When you surround yourself with toxic people, it's very, very difficult to lift off. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, support you, and are going to be with you and have your back 100% all the time. And if
I
you
agree.
can't say yes about that person, they can do all those things for you. It's time for you to kind of like start easing out of that relationship. And sometimes we have to divorce our relatives.
That's
We have
true.
to say, goodbye, sorry, your identity doesn't mesh with my identity, and it doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I'm going places where you can't go.
Right. Well, and sometimes, we lower our vibration to match that of others instead of the other way around.
Hmm.
We lower our expectations, where we stay small in order to fit in,
Hmm.
rather than the other way around, and letting other people catch up with us. you know maybe they,
Yes.
maybe they can go places we can too,
Mhm.
but maybe that's not the same objective or goal that they have. But we all have our own path. And it's really getting in touch with what's your true authenticity?
Mhm.
Because there's only one you, and you were here for an incredible purpose, and you have unique strengths that
Mhm.
nobody else has.
And we signed up to come down here, for Pete's sake.
We did. Oh my
We
God.
did. We signed up for this. We signed up for the bodily experience of being here now.
Yeah,
So something about us has the ability to impact and change something. Maybe it's another person, maybe it's ourselves, but we have that innate ability of transformation. And when
I
we
agree.
see it and feel it, other people say, "Oh, I can't do that." Hey, come along for a little bit. We'll figure out where your zone of genius is. And you see that you have that same sort of transformative spirit that's born in you. And what happens is somebody later says, "What makes you think you're so special?" Right? But you are, because you're the only one there is.
Exactly. I think we get hung up in regrets, you know, things that we, you know, feelings of guilt and shame, regrets, mistakes.
Mhm.
We often have a lot of intangible clutter that gets in our way. And I always believe when you're manifesting new things into your life,
Mhm.
you have to create a vacuum. You have to create space for both physical things to come to you, but also intangible things as well.
Mhm.
And if you're carrying around too much baggage, you need to lighten it up. Maybe you need to
Mhm.
forgive somebody or yourself. Maybe you need to let go of a resentment that you've been holding on to. Maybe you
Yes.
need to let go of some physical stuff that's no longer
Mhm.
serving you as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of the clarity when you asked about some suggestions.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are just caught in too much clutter, you know, mentally, emotionally, and physically, that it's hard for them to make progress. So these
And
are some things that I would suggest.
yes, and finding like-minded people that you can touch bases with and say howdy to, and say, "How you doing? What's going on this week, or what's going on this month?" And you can say, "Hey, you're hanging in there."
Exactly.
A celebration, even the tiniest, propels us because our brain starts to like it, and our
Well,
brain
wait.
wants more of it.
Yeah. And so you start looking for ways to note your success
Mhm.
instead of the other way around, beating up yourself up for, you know, for mistakes. You're training
Mhm.
your brain to get excited about making progress. And that's the
Yes,
important part.
yes. And I like to say that I'd rather help someone who's 30 so they don't have to live a life of regret. Because, as you know, I work with a lot of elders and they're still living in regrets for things that happened in their 20s. And when I can get them to say, "Okay, can I step out of this? Can I give this up? Have I talked about it enough? What can I do as a replacement that feels like stimulating, but also feels uplifting?" Because it is a
Exactly.
dopamine hit.
Right.
Yes, and we all have the capabilities of being really good addicts. That's why I stay away from television.
There you go. I know.
Well,
I
Miss
try.
Carmen,
I
yes, Miss Carmen, you have been such a fun guest.
well,
I
thank
hope
you.
I hope that you'll come back sometime and that we'll talk about other kinds of stuff that might be coming up in the universe in the next 3 to 6 months. Who knows what will be happening then?
Well,
Because I think that we're all on a trajectory that's beginning to pick up speed. And 2025 is going to be a fabulous year for so many things and for so many people.
I agree. I'm excited for it.
Yes. So
And
thank you. Go ahead.
I'd be happy to come back. So thank you for
Oh,
having me.
yeah. Yes, I would love that. Okay. Everyone out there listening, please punch the following button and also subscribe so that we can get more and more people joining our Dolphin Pod. And you can send this out to people who need to hear this. And I bet you in your back of your mind, as you're listening to this, you'll say, oh, so and so needs to hear this. Let me tell them about it. Let me send them this link. Okay? So, again, thank you. I am going to end this recording in just a second. So, big smile. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.